Women's Power to Heal, Mother Earth. This is Maya Tiwari. This afternoon I'm sitting in the high desert of New Mexico, some 6,000 feet above sea level, understanding in a deeper way what it is to spend a lazy afternoon. It is so essential in this very stressful time in our history and in our world's culture that is besieged with so many trials, obstacles, seemingly unending length of challenges. It is important to take pause and do nothing, because doing nothing is so very difficult for each and every human person. I would rather call this episode and my input into it as spending lazy time. Lazy is not a word that necessarily means unworthy, lackadaisical, unkempt, or otherwise careless. But it is a word that embraces, a word that implies that you and I are worth the care that we give to ourselves. So much is made about self-worth, self-love, self-care, but so little attention is paid to why these words are meaningless, in my purview, in any event. And the reason that I think that those words are meaningless is because when we are faced with incredible challenges, when we see our lives sinking into the deep mire of gray osmosis, of gray darkness and the abyss of it all, very little can be helpful when we hear about people who think it is about self-worth and self-care and self-love. Words are cheap. Indeed, they are easy to utter. Indeed, they're only the veneer of things we need to peel off to go into the deeper source of our own healing. For me, as many of you know, it's been a challenging decade of being put upon by enormous covert activities of violence, hatred, and otherwise chemical toxicity. But I refuse to go deeper into that mindset, into that conversation. Simply mention and noted because we talk about the aspect of feeling inundated, tired, fatigued, put upon, or in so many cases victimized by the known and the unknown, the visible and the invisible, the impenetrable and the penetrable. Whatever the source of activities and advents that make us feel victimized, let us take a moment and breathe. Breathe into that. That I am victim is never a reality that any one of us can participate in. But that we're being victimized, or that I am being victimized, that may be true. There is a difference between I am victim and I am being victimized. For those of us who are feeling the stings and bitterness of victimization, I say this. put aside one idea, and that is the idea of I am. I am should only be followed by consciousness. I am free, I am conscious, I am an immutable being, I am sentient, I am human, I am the daughter of the great Mother Earth. Now, I am all of those things while I'm being victimized. But what I am not is I am not a victim. It is very important in our mindset that we understand the difference between what attempts to annihilate our intelligence and sentiency and beauty and worth, and what it is that we feel about ourselves. Oh, this is a very cutting edge and difficult, thin veneer, a thin, silky, oily veil that separates the two understanding. But we must come to this proper understanding, and that is that I am everything glorious, I am everything magnificent, regardless of who is doing what to whom, and how many are trying to victimize me, or how much the difficulty and the overlays of layers and layers and manifold pile-up of all of the detritus, the debris that we can so easily accumulate in every life. So spending a lazy afternoon, as I'm here with the chimes and the ambient sounds of a neighborhood that is surrounded by 52,000 acres of an airfield, airspace, military airspace. Didn't know that when I found myself here, but I've always been in love with planes and the fact that the humans can make them fly, and the fact that they can go through the skies. But of course I'm also concerned about the environmental factor and the damages done to our sonic airspace and our sonic field, but that is a conversation for another time. I'm here sitting in a swing under beautiful chimes in an incredible late summer sky, just talking to you and feeling no pain, because in my talk and in my sharing, I have always felt that completeness, that incredible, brilliant sense of I am the magnificent Maya. I am the magnificent daughter of the Goddess Mother and of Mother Earth. And so, on lazy days and lazy afternoons, as we treat ourselves with what I would call not mindlessness, but being out of the mind, away from the mind, away from the issues and pressing problems and difficulties and obstacles, away from the mystery of every adverse, every evil, every whatever toxic that can possibly harm us. As we sit in a lazy afternoon, those things become as foreign as the inhumanity of it all. And so, it is true that no one could ever attack our spirit, our soul. It is an egregious and misunderstanding to think that however impaired and impinged we are, that the spirit or the soul is ever affected. It is not. It is perfect. It is illimitable. It is immutable. It is the goddess. It is beyond the goddess. It is awareness. It is beyond awareness. It is consciousness. It is. And that's who we are. And of course, the physical body can become impaired and vitiated by so many different environmental, internal, karmic, genetic issues. But in this moment of having a lazy afternoon, listening to the beautiful composer Deuter, that's Deuter, one of his magnificent pieces, I sit, I share, and I am so happy to be here, to be who I am, to understand that I have traveled at least, almost 70 years on this earth, and that I come to understand a very simple truth, and that is, lazy afternoons are imperative for us, especially us women, who are not only going through the trials and tribulations and incredible difficulties, but for those of us who don't appear to be going through any difficulty at all, for all of us, spend a lazy afternoon. It isn't about doing nothing. It isn't about doing something. But it is about doing nothing specific, except to be, except to remember that we are full consciousness, that we are immutable spirit, that we are the daughter and children of the Goddess Mother, and that barefoot upon the earth, I find myself being unearthed and earthed at the same time. Many blessings, and thank you for listening. Peace be your journey.